and I was told not to make this thing too academic, so I just will mainly talk about the physical sciences of future climate change and some regional scientific efforts we have done during my time as a PhD student in understanding the climate change over Southeast Asia. And for the opening remarks, climate change is a hot topic. Everyone wants to study it. You know, this is maybe because due to the increase in awareness, as climate change can actually threaten our well-being, such as the food crisis, water crisis, and losses of home. So the reason we want to study about climate change is we want to prepare ourselves so that we can adapt, mitigate those potential crises arise from climate change. And because of this, climate change makes money. Okay, this is a graph from I took from the internet showing how US government funded climate change study. You can see a large portion of the funding actually goes to climate change. So because of this, people always say climate change is a hoax, is to make money. Is that so? And what does the science say about climate change? These are results from an international study from IPCC. Yeah, on this side, this is a temperature since 1,000 years ago until the present recent years. We can see that our temperature mainly remain a constant, but when we reach some point like industrial revolution, temperature seems to increase very drastically. This graph is what we call a hockey stick graph. Okay, it sounds like a hockey stick, something like this. Yeah, and in terms of greenhouse gases, we can also see that there are actually a drastic increase in those greenhouse gases, such as the carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, after this revolution industrial. And does human contribute to climate change? The answer is yes, because using, this is actually from the International Panel of Climate Change, Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, the result from the recent report, the fifth assessment report. So they did a study using climate models. So they try to run what is it like if there is no human in this world. So it seems that if we don't contribute anything to the climate, you see, and the temperature actually doesn't, it's not supposed to change a lot. But once we have human in, we factor in human, the temperature actually increased. And the black one is actually observation, and this matches well with observation. So therefore, it's safe to say that human actually is one of the factors that contribute to the recent climate change. Okay. And for this, my talks today will include these three things. First, I will talk a lot on the basic climate change physical science. Then I'll talk a little bit about the regional efforts, what we have done over Southeast Asia. And the third one will be like more of like a demonstration how we did the assessment of future climate change in Southeast Asia. Okay? And the purpose of this talk, I made it this way, is we want to get the facts right and be informed. Because I realized a lot of people trying to do climate change study, they actually end of the atmospheric conditions, such as the temperature changes, the humidity, and wind. It happens in minutes, hours, or days. Or now, let's say we have a very sunny day. Then suddenly, let's say during the evening, we have a heavy rain. This is what we call weather. But for climate is actually statistics. Okay, it's a long-term average of weather pattern in an area. For example, in Terengganu, we know that we have a northeast monsoon during the December, January, February period. So we expect that we will have more rainfall compared to other months or other period in the year. Whereas during the June, July, August, we always say this is a dry season. How do we know? Because we did an average across time. So we realized that for December, January, February, we have more rainfall. For June, July, August, we have less rainfall. So when we talk about climate, we usually talk about years, decadal, or even century climate. Whether we call it the weather forecast, but for climate, we don't call it climate forecast. We call it climate projection. Okay, for weather forecast, we call it a forecast because we are attempting to predict the state of atmosphere. Okay, we are trying to predict, let's say, next hour, will it rain or not? Or tomorrow, will it rain or not? Or you want to go hiking, we will ask, will it rain, let's say, 2 days later? So these are forecasts. But for projection, we are talking about, we are trying to reproduce, okay? We try to estimate the statistics, okay? We don't say like, will it rain 20 years later, 30 years later? We don't do that, okay? But we will say, will we get more rain in the future? First, we need the future greenhouse gases concentration. Because we are trying to project the future, we want to know how the climate statistics change in the future. We need to have scenarios, okay? So once we have scenarios, you can think it like the most likely thing to happen in the future. So we put it into something which contains the physical processes of the Earth. This something is what we usually call GCM or ECM. GCM stands for General Circulation Model, while ESM stands for Earth System Model. So this model thing, you can think it like a mathematical package, where this mathematical package describes the physical processes of the Earth. Let's say it describes how the wind works, how the water works, and how the interaction between air and the sea. Okay? So once we have these, we put in the greenhouse gases concentration scenarios into these tools, okay, this GCM or ECM. So from there, they will try to simulate how the future climate will be. Let's look at what is GCM, ESM. So GCM stands for General Circulation Model, okay, and ESM stands for Earth System Model. Okay, the different thing is that Earth System Model is an upgrade version of GCM. Okay, it includes more complicated, more robust physical processes, which actually GCM didn't take into account in the past. Okay, so this GCM or ESM, what it did is it virtualized actual Earth. Okay, so we have the Earth. So how are we going to virtualize it? So this model will split the Earth into squares or grids. Okay, this grid actually is three-dimensional. Okay, so in each of this grid, you contain information like this. Let's say over the ocean, how ocean should behave. Over the atmosphere, how the atmosphere should behave. All right. Let's say we get a warm temperature, high humidity, we're supposed to get a rain. Okay, something like that. We need a direction so that we can direct our model to simulate what the future climate will be. So to do that, we need two things. One is the present, so what is happening now. The second is the choice and direction, the choices and direction. Okay, let's say currently our temperature, our climate is like this. So what are those other people going to do? Let's say how the government policy changes, how human as a general choose to react according to what is currently we are having now. That into account. Okay. So for IPCC, there are 4 different scenarios. You just don't care about this RCP, this short form. What you know is there are 2 optimistic scenarios and 2 very pessimistic scenarios. So 2.6 is very, very optimistic, meaning that we cut away the greenhouse gases. We stop emitting greenhouse gases. RCP 4.5, we cut our greenhouse gases into half. Okay, we some sort like we go for this sustainable pathway. RCP 6.0 is we do a little bit less, and RCP 8.5 is like we don't do anything. We just keep business as usual. The climate change data produced by the scientists is actually freely available. Okay, anyone can just access it. So you just go to Google, or if you don't Google, you just Yahoo or anything. Just search CMID5. We actually stand for Coupled Model Intercomparison Project 5. And you search ESGF, which stands for Earth System Grid Federation. Okay? So for Coupled CMID5, it's like a project where it gets scientists around the world, the modelers, get together. So they come together, okay, they agree to do a very similar simulation. Let's say, okay, everyone will run a simulation for RCP 4.5, right? The model state the temperature will increase from 2 to 4. So we take a 3. So we set 3 and we try to study how our fish behave. This is actually incorrect. Because what you should do is, you should take into account the range 2 to 4. Okay? Because the model is not trying to predict, okay, how the temperature will be at the end of the century. Okay? And there's no right or wrong in the model. But you know, the total size for the data is around 3.3 petabytes. Okay, then in the model, and this right side is the actual topography over our Southeast Asia. We can see that GCM generally simplify our land masses. Okay, because the reason is because GCM usually run at a grid around like 100 to 300 kilometers for one grid. So meaning one box of this might be 100 to 300 kilometers. The reason to this is that if you run the model in a higher resolution, when you double the resolution, let's say from 100 kilometers to 50 kilometers, you need 4 times the computing resources. RCM, Regional Climate Model, is a limited area model. So from here you can see, the globe is actually GCM, the Global General Circulation Model. So this square is a RCM. Okay, so RCM, because it does not need to simulate the whole globe, we can make it into higher resolution, such as 25 kilometer, 5 kilometer, or even 10 to. The first one is CCAM, Southeast Asia Climate Analysis and Modeling Framework. This completed in 2014, and it was based on the AR4, okay, assessment, the 4th assessment report of IPCC. This framework is led by Singapore. GCM data, we downscale to 25 kilometers, but we know that 25 kilometers is still not enough. Okay, we have to go to a more finer resolution. We want to do it at 2 kilometers, but unfortunately, Southeast Asia is not a very rich place, so we can only barely manage to downscale our products to 5 kilometers, and this is still ongoing. And we have been doing this like for, I think, close to 2 years, where we still haven't finished the downscaling. Southeast Asia data which we downscale, the GCM we downscale to 25 kilometers. So first, before we assess the future climate changes, the first thing we need to do is we assess the performance of the model. Okay? So we want to answer the question, can the product simulate present day climate, such as our monsoon circulation, which is actually very important over this area, this region? And can it capture, let's say, the seasonal rainfall pattern, the annual cycle of the rainfall? Okay, of course, if you have other questions, other things to add on, okay, you should add on. Then after we did a performance assessment, so we realized, okay, some model is good, some model is no good in terms of it cannot capture the present day climate, okay? And then we try to create an ensemble, okay, when we cross the equator to Australia, okay? So this is how the present climate looks like, okay, for DJF. And for JJA, it should be the other way around, okay? So the green pattern is from this. So these are actually the products, the downscale product from Southeast Asia. For DJF, just a quick look, everyone is coming north, south, north, south. So